Danny Dimes may have conned himself into another big contract after this week. Orchard Park was pure hysteria, and Rodgers looked 25 again. We had a huge slate of games this past weekend, and I'm here to break it all down. This is HillTimeSports. Obviously, the big news coming out of this weekend was that thriller in Orchard Park. The Baltimore Ravens had a 99% chance of winning, but in the last second, I'll let you know more later. Also, Matthew Stafford is the 10th quarterback of all time to throw for 60,000 yards. Is he a Hall of Famer? You decide in the comments. Let me know. And injuries. What more can you say? As being a human being, our bodies are fragile, and there were a few. Xavier Worthy, after colliding with Travis Kelce, was taken to the locker room, and according to reports, he dislocated his shoulder. He might be out for a few games, but if it was me, I feel like I'd be pushing on that life alert like I was fearing for my dear life. Brock Bowers, star tight end of the Las Vegas Raiders, also had a knee injury. He'll be out. He'll be able to play against the Chargers, but yeah, we don't want to see Brock Bowers injured if you're the Las Vegas Raiders or their fans. It looks like George Kittle is out for a few weeks with a hamstring injury, and finally, Juwan Jennings and Drake London were also hurt. Jennings needs an MRI, and Drake London is day-to-day. So that's pretty good. And now on to the games, and boy, did we have a few. But before we get into it, we need 12 more subs to get to 100 subscribers, and I'm working my tail off through anxiety this whole weekend that crippled me. But rain, shine, mental breakdowns, I'm going to be working my ass off to get you football content because that's what we do. We push forward. Subscribe to HillTimeSports if you love what's going on in this channel, but let's get into the game. We already talked about the Philadelphia Eagles and the Dallas Cowboys. CeeDee Lamb forgot that you use your hands to catch the ball, but also Jalen Carter was not suspended after review. We saw Dak spitting at the ground and kind of smirking at Jalen Carter. Jalen Carter spit back, but the story of the game was Jalen Hurts rushing for 2 touchdowns. The game came down to the wire. After that, Chargers and Chiefs also went down to the wire. Justin Herbert looked like an MVP, and Patrick Mahomes, well, he was Patrick Mahomes. The running game on both sides struggled, but were led by both quarterbacks in that area. And also no Taylor Swift, and Herbert iced the game with the scramble, 27-21 in favor of the Chargers. But somehow Daniel Jones returned. Like Emperor Palpatine in The Rise of Skywalker, he had 272 yards and a touchdown. And Tua couldn't find his receivers, but he did find the defensive backs of the Indianapolis Colts, throwing 2 interceptions and turning the ball over 3 times, but finally getting a garbage time touchdown. Latu and Bynum had those 2 interceptions, and the Colts stomped the Dolphins on land 33-8. The key, well, Miami just didn't know how to hold on to the ball. Tampa Bay versus the Atlanta Falcons. Baker Mayfield had trouble completing the ball, but when he did, he found Emeka Egbuka, who had 4 receptions for 67 yards and 2 touchdowns. So much for Bijan Robinson being an amazing runner. He had 24 yards, 2 yards per carry, but did finish with 100 yards receiving. Michael Penix Jr. had 2 total touchdowns and 289 yards. Who can forget his Michael Jordan in Space Jam impression when he reached for the goal line? But unfortunately, Young Hoku just couldn't sink a game-tying field goal, missing. But if you're looking for advice, don't take it from the Cleveland Browns, Atlanta, because Andre Smith missed a field goal and an extra point that could have either tied and won the game. He could be on the hot seat But the defense of the Cleveland Browns is something to take note of. They held the Cincinnati Bengals to 17 points, and that offensive line of Cincinnati, well, they looked like mid-season form, allowing 3 sacks and 7 QB hits. Myles Garrett, who has shown he is still motivated after getting a king's ransom. Burrow threw for 113 yards and 1 touchdown. Noah Fant had their lone touchdown reception, and the highest paid wide receiver duo had a paltry 59 yards combined. Bengals escaped 17-16. In an early game, Aaron Rodgers managed to look like he was aging in reverse, and as a going-away president, well, he gave the Jets another loss, albeit as a Pittsburgh Steeler. He threw for 244 yards, 4 touchdowns, showing he still has some juice left in the tank. Metcalf had 83 yards, but if you were looking for a receiver on the waiver wire, Calvin Austin III might just be him. Justin Fields may have just shown that he can actually play quarterback in the NFL. 218 yards, 1 touchdown. We will see how he does the rest of the season. And Breece Hall decided to make a comeback, 107 yards. And did you see that block from Membo out of Missouri, the rookie? Very good stuff. Go check it out. You know, offensive linemen don't get a lot of love, but they do on this channel. This game did not feature a whole lot of defense. Will McDonald did have 2 sacks. The teams combined for 66 points. Steelers beat the Jets 34-32. Beloved former coach Josh McDaniels made his long-awaited return to Las Vegas to play the Raiders as an offensive coordinator, showing that he can jerk around 2 AFC quarterbacks and still get a job somewhere. He's going to be banished from the NFL, but whatever. Both QBs threw a touchdown and interception. Genty, despite low numbers and averaging 2 yards per carry, had a touchdown. And in a wild turn of events, both kickers managed to go 2 for 3 for field goals on the field, and both QBs took 4 sacks. Harold Landry III gets New England's game ball with 2.5 sacks, but the Raiders would win 20-13. And Kyler Murray threw 2 touchdowns, took 5 sacks, but Spencer Rattler threw an average pass of 4.7 yards. Kamara had a touchdown, and Trey Benson looked like the lead dog in Arizona. 8 carries, 69 yards. And I know that 69 yards is a nice number. If you're an elementary school child, keep your mind out of the gutter. Marvin Harrison showed off his muscle mass, which was probably the difference in the game. 71 yards, 1 touchdown. Cameron Jordan didn't look like an old man, 1.5 sacks, but New Orleans falls 20-13, and they will be looking for a QB next year. So if you've got any chops, you might want to be calling some general managers. You heard it here first. Hopes for an upset were quickly dashed when the Washington Commanders held the Giants to 6 points, and everyone outside of Malik Neighbors and the kicker looked awful. Abdul Carter had half a sack, if that's worth anything in the NFL, and the QB hit. As for the Commanders, 233 yards and a touchdown from Jaden Daniels, who was sacked 3 times. Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt better be on your fantasy team next week, because he had 82 yards on 10 carries, and Deebo Samuel, well, what the hell happened to him? He came out of nowhere and had 96 overall yards and a rushing touchdown. 21-6, the final. Stock way up, and I am kicking myself for not starting the guy. Travis Etienne Jr., 143 yards, 8.9 yards per carry. Bryce Young lost a lot of stock with me. 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. But Trevor Lawrence really didn't do much either. Threw a touchdown and an interception as well. And Brian Thomas did the best disappearing act for the week. Hopefully he gets back up, because he's also on my fantasy team, and I'm disappointed as hell. J.C. Horn had 1 interception. Jordan Lewis and Elokun I don't know how to say the word on the Jags had one each. 26-10 was the final, and the Panthers showed me never to make predictions on who's going to be a dark horse because I'm usually going to be wrong. Poor Cam Ward had no receiver who can possibly catch the ball, and he was sacked 6 times, including the game-sealing fumble that the Denver Broncos picked up and won the game 20-12. Now, why was it 20-12? Well, although the defense for the Broncos was top tier in mid-season form and maybe in playoff form, well, Bo Nix decided that he didn't know how to play quarterback anymore. 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, and a fumble. The Titans were in this game almost the whole way. 12-20, that's an 8-point swing if they could have just done it, or if the Titans could have stopped the run. R.J. Harvey and J.K. Dobbins had 2 big runs. Dobbins scoring on that play had 1 touchdown. But the real story of the game was, well, one of the worst pass catchers on the Titans was Calvin Ridley, who dropped 3 balls and giving CeeDee Lamb a run for his money as who can drop the most balls this season. But also Sutton had 1 touchdown, so there's that. Brock Purdy had 2 interceptions, but it was negated. Could have been worse, though, had it been for Darnold and Jackson Smith and Jigba's 2 fumbles combined. Ricky Pearsall showed he's not just a victim of violence when he had 108 yards receiver, and McCaffrey looked really good, 143 yards combined. But Jake Moody is definitely on the hot seat, missing 2 out of 3 field goals. That's a 33% field goal rate. You're probably going to have to be looking for a new job. I hear Best Buy is hiring, but credit for the interceptions. Ernest Jones, the 4th, and Josh Joby had 1 interception, but Darnold didn't score a single touchdown in his debut with the Seahawks. Is his contract overblown? Should the Seahawks have paid him? Let me know in the comments. I am not sure. And how in the hell did Isaac Tesla catch that gorgeous pass? I mean, the guy's going to be really good in the NFL, but the rest of the Lions, well, didn't look that great. Micah Parsons chased down Jared Goff like Micah Parsons is a tiger and insert prey for whatever animal Jared Goff would be. What wasn't special was the Lions' run defense, and that was a big surprise. Kind of finding a flaming bag of dog poop on their porch, and the Lions stepped all over it. Jared Goff finished with 1 touchdown and 1 interception. Jordan Love did not turn the ball over. That plagued him last season at 2 touchdowns, and just like that, the Packers are contenders, right? 27-13, Pack win, go Pack go. Insert whatever you want there. In Los Angeles, well, the Rams won the game against a Texans team that couldn't block for C.J. Stroud. He only mustered 6 points. He was sacked 3 times. Byron Young, Tyler Davis, and Jalen McCuff were credited with sacks. Nick Chubb showed, well, he's still got some juice left in the tank. 60 yards. Puka Nacua, 10 catches, 130 yards. C.J. Stroud threw 0 touchdowns and 1 interception. And Matthew Stafford becomes the 10th player to throw for 60 yards. But in this day and age, is it really worth that much? Is he a Hall of Famer, or is it more like someone throwing for 40,000 yards in 2005 or whatever stat you want to insert right there? All I'm saying is Matthew Stafford, is he a Hall of Famer? Let me know in the comments. I don't know. I would like to say he is, but I like Matthew Stafford. And finally, in the final game on Sunday night, Baltimore was running all over the Buffalo Bills defense until the last 4 minutes when Derrick Henry, well, he lost a fumble, giving the Buffalo Bills a chance on a 15-point lead that they had. Let's go back to the early part of the game where the Baltimore Ravens scored 22 points in the second quarter. But being the MVP, Josh Allen and the rest of the crew mustered up all their strength to come back, and in the final minutes, Matt Prater, who was coaching his son's football team, got a call to be the Bills kicker. Won the game 41-40. I got some stats right here. Derrick Henry ran for over 150 yards. Lamar had 3 combined touchdowns to Josh Allen's 4 combined. It was a thriller. The Buffalo Bills win that game 41-40. And finally, the Chicago Bears and the Minnesota Vikings. Honestly, J.J. McCarthy threw a pick 6, and I went to go take a shower because I just had a rough day. I come back, and J.J. McCarthy had 2 throwing touchdowns, and the game was 18-17. I don't even know. The first thing I saw when I came out was, well, there's Aaron Jones catching a touchdown on a fade on a long pass. Caleb Williams looked sharp in that early part, running for a touchdown, and then all of a sudden they couldn't score any points, and Caleb Williams looked like rookie Caleb Williams. Although Nashawn Wright, who was on the Vikings practice squad last year, had a 73-yard house call, J.J. McCarthy looked like he showed resiliency, and that's exactly what you want to see out of your starting quarterback, especially when he's young like that. Final score 27-24. And if you like this video, this recap of the week, and you like HillTimeSports, leave a little like, a subscribe. Like I said, 12 subscribers to 100. I'll see you in the next video. We'll have a power rankings sometime this week, hopefully before Thursday's games. But adios, goodbye, farewell.